Help me to clean my room.
Shalom and welcome to Mishpachah, Dean's family. And this is my wife, Debbie Good. I'm Joe Good. And we want to share with you some of the things we do at our home. It's the season of Passover. In fact, we're having a really long Passover. This is the third week for us for Passover.
Passover is a very involved time of year. It includes, as a matter of fact, some people say that it is the most popular festival in all of the Bible. And I think one of the reasons why is it's probably easier to understand than some of the others. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot that goes on. One of the things we've done last week was we talked about the Seder plate. And I tell you what, if you will, we've got some of our items handy over there. Let's
load up the Seder plate.
Yes, let's load up the Seder plate. And we had left out something very, very important last time that we were hoping we could add. Let's see,
we have 6 items.
6 items. Let's see, this is the romaine lettuce. We put the lettuce on.
And then the
parsley
is the
goes
karpas.
right here. Karpas. Let's see.
Betzah.
Let's see. Betzah's over here.
Okay.
That's the egg.
Zeroah.
By the way, the egg is what starts the dinner. The zeroah is over here. That's the shank bone.
Okay. And then
let's see, what are we missing? The bitter herb. Okay, you're going to put that on.
There,
okay.
and we'll put this behind here.
The one that we're missing that goes on the Seder plate is the charoset.
Where's shank bone? Okay, we got that.
Yes,
let me clear something up. I said that this is our third week of Passover. Passover only goes for a week.
1 week.
1 week. But there's so much to present on Passover, we're using 3 weeks of programs to present them to you.
That's right. That's right. Now, as we mentioned, we left out the charoset off the Seder plate. And one of the reasons why I left it off deliberately, is so that we could make some and show people what goes into a charoset. And why don't you explain to them what charoset is?
Okay, it's pronounced charoset with a at the first, charoset. And the charoset is to remind us of the mortar, because the people were slaves in Egypt working with brick. And but it's very sweet. And it speaks of the promises of God, and so therefore it's made from the nuts and the fruits and honey and wine, all sweet things, but all part of the promises of God for the land of Israel.
Okay, so let's get started on making the charoset, because every Passover Seder has to have charoset. So I took the liberty of paring, quartering, and chopping up 1 apple. Now, of course, you can make a little bit more than this, but this should be enough to last most people for their Seder. You know, because you're going to use it a couple of times. Once you will use it to wrap up in the lettuce, or it's a type of dipping you do to eat for the bitter herb. And then the other time, of course, the most famous time is when it is mixed with the horseradish and eaten on matzah.
Okay, now, how many people are you saying that this will take care of at a Seder? Because a lot of people in our house, when we have a Seder, we often have 35 people show up.
Well, this is 1 medium-sized apple. Let's say an apple about so big. We used 1 apple. I'll be honest with you, I would probably use 2 or 3 apples, but we would probably have some left over. So I'd say that for 10 people, this would not be enough. I'd go ahead and use 2 apples and double the recipe of everything I tell you.
Okay, great.
But for a small family, let's say a family of, say, 4 to 6, maybe even possibly 8 people. I stretched it a little bit. But this is a very flexible recipe. I'll give some measurements for it, but it's the type of thing that you do more by taste. Okay? And I tell you what, if I can get Myron to come over and help me and hand me some things, we'll start to get ready, get mixing on our charoset.
This is our son, Myron.
Myron, why don't you come over here?
Myron's in middle school.
Okay, to the charoset, which is the chopped up, into the charoset we put chopped up apple, and then we're going to put some chopped nuts. Myron, can you hand me? This is about 1/2 cup of chopped almonds. Now you can use walnuts as well. I particularly like almonds, not only because I like the taste, but there's something that's very spiritually significant about almonds. Joe, you want to explain what that is?
Well, almonds are called the resurrection tree. They're the first that after the winter. The almond is the first that comes out with the blossoms and the first to come forth with fruit.
And we also know that Aaron had a staff.
That's budded with ripe almonds.
That's
right. And there's a
right.
great prophecy in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 12, that speaks of the Messiah, and it says that it calls him by the term the almond tree.
Okay, now
so almonds are a special blessing.
To this blessing, what we're going to take is just a little bit of honey. Myron, if you can hand that to me. And this is about maybe a teaspoon, but honey sticks a lot of times. We want it to be a very sweet mixture. And honey is also good about binding things up. So it'll kind of help it to stick together. But we take about a teaspoon of honey, can be sugar. And then, let's see, Myron handed me this powder. This is about half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Again, it's about half a teaspoon. And, we can just, you don't have to be quite so careful with measurements because a lot of it you can do strictly by taste. Thank you, Myron. And so we mix this up a little bit. And then what we're going to do is add a couple of tablespoons of a red sweet wine, or it could be grape juice. And I'll be honest with you, I will probably add a little bit more. One thing that happens with apples, as you use them, as they stay out for a little bit, they will turn brown a little bit. And whereas women will try real hard to add lemon juice to the apples to keep that from happening, this is one case where you really don't want it to. You want it to be a little bit discolored. So sometimes I will add just a little bit more wine just to give it that brownish, purplish look.
Kind of the mortar look.
That's right, because that's the whole purpose, is that you want it to look like the mortar. And so I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit. And if we add more wine, we probably want to add just a tiny bit more honey as well, because we don't want it to be too runny. So here we want to put that up.
You're
that was
getting your honey ready.
Teaspoon or two. But again, we're giving a little bit of a recipe here, but this is nothing that you really measure. It's something you just sort of play with until you feel good about it. And
if you are going to keep a very orthodox or strict kosher for your Passover, when you buy the wine for your haroset or your meal, you want to make sure that it says, let me see if we can get where we can see this. It says kosher for Passover.
It says it right down over here.
Right. Oh, I was reading the Hebrew. Okay. Kosher for Passover. So you want to watch for that on your bottles.
Okay, now we're going to set this aside for a little while. Although this would actually, we would take a small amount and put it onto the Seder plate.
Or often you might get a little
bowl.
bowl.
Yes, we'll usually have some in a little condiment bowl on our table. And I tell you what, Joe, just so we can try to taste this, why don't you take a piece of matzah and let me load some up for you? Why don't you taste it for us?
Okay, this is our first time to show matzah. Matzah comes in this little wafer. And let me fix it like you have a sandwich that's called a Hillel sandwich.
Do you want to try to do the Hillel
sandwich?
No,
not on the air.
Oh, okay. What we're going to do is put a little bit of matzah. And by the way, this is,
haroset.
I'm sorry, yes, a little bit of haroset on the matzah. And I'll say that at home, I love to eat a lunch of maybe some gefilte fish with a little bit of horseradish and haroset during the week. I enjoy that for lunch. I'm probably the only one in the family who does. So.
For the Hillel sandwich, which is part of your Passover meal, you take some of the prepared horseradish, and you put at least the size of an almond on one end and the haroset on the other, and then you make a sandwich. It was done by the sage Hillel.
But you're just going to do the chicken way today. But
well,
you know what we're going to get back is someday you will publicly eat the Hillel sandwich, I'm sure.
Oh, certainly. Be glad to.
But you must say a blessing.
Yes, you say a blessing. This would be the hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, or hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Okay, let's see what it tastes like. Is it good? Well, what I'd like to do is set this aside. We might come back to this and just see if it changed colors just during this program. So let's get some of this stuff out of the way, and let's talk about some of the other things we do during the time of Passover. I'll tell you what, I think we can set our Seder plate over to the side and talk about some of the other things we do at home. One of the things we have, we had talked before out here about covering challah. When we have bread at home, we cover it so that it is not seen. Well, we don't actually have challah, or that type of challah during a Passover Seder, but what we do have is what is called a matzah tosh. This is the challah cover, or the matzah cover. And this was one of mine at home. It says Pesach on it, but it's a little bit stained in places. We bought this one in Israel. But you will notice that there are 3 compartments inside, because a matzah tosh is like a bag. It's going to be closed on 3 sides and open on one, and you will load 3 matzahs in, one in each little compartment. Okay. And then that will become part of the items that are used on the Seder table during the the actual Seder. Okay, and again, 3 compartments. You know,
And there are
for
all
3 different
types
pieces of matzah.
There's
And they
all
will
types
be,
of meanings as to why you have 3 compartments, 3 pieces of matzah.
but this will be used several times with it. Well, again, is another item that some people need to purchase. I tell you what, why don't we get Rebecca over here to help us with some of this, and let's see if she can help us in showing some of these that we've done at home. That this is a matzah tash that is in a round shape, and again, it's got the 3 inside pieces or little. It's like an envelope, 3 slots, I guess, for a piece of matzah, each one for a piece of matzah. This one just happens to be embroidered, whereas mine is painted. But years ago, we had a Passover Seder. We thought, let's give kids something to do, but let's also try to save a little bit of money in the process. We had a public Seder coming up, so we had the kids decorate some matzah tash. What we did, and Myron, if you will hand me those white things right over there, we took some ordinary men's handkerchiefs, unused, I might add.
Important.
Yes, you don't want to use a used men's handkerchief, but unused men's handkerchief. And you can see that's about the size that you would need to notice. One thing good about handkerchiefs is that they are all finished on the edges. You don't have to do any type of preparatory sewing. Now, what we did is we took 3 of these handkerchiefs, 3 to each matzah tash or matzah bag. See, that gives us our 3 pockets. And then a little bit nicer cloth. This is almost like a khaki or denim. We've used like a muslin before or just regular cotton. And we stitched around 3 different sides of them. And then, Mern, if you will hand me some of that over there. Yes, there you go. You can purchase, and this is so very, very inexpensive, just some already gathered lace. You can purchase this and stick this under on one side, but sew this all the way around. And this is something actually that children can do at home. Of course, most children do not sew. They might need a little bit of help with that. But one thing they can do, let's see, Mary, would you give me the white bottle right over here? This is some liquid stitch. If you're in a crisis situation, you want your children to do something, they can actually glue the fabric together along the edges by using something like, a fabric glue. Okay, now, before it is actually sewn together and put the lace on, what you might want to do is go ahead and decorate the top. And let's just show some examples of this. By the way, this says matzah on it, and it's using several different painting techniques. Myron, if you want to hold that one up right here. Couple of it is kind of shaded and then just using some dot painted. And Rebecca, you want to hold this one up? Just kind of give an idea of some of the things we've done in the past where it says matzah in the Hebrew. Then it also has English. And again, here's one that says matzah. See, you can just, if you want to hold this one up since you're the...
Okay.
Just different things you can do. Different little techniques on painting using fabric paints. You could actually just use Crayolas and iron things in like we've done before, but... or you can be very, very creative, or you can be simple. You can embroider. And again, this is another activity where I would use children as much as possible. If you have children who cannot sew, you might let them do a simple one out of some paint or some crayons. If you have teenagers, let them do some of this, but let them take part in preparing and learn what the matzah tash or the matzah bag does by doing it.
And it's a good way to actually teach them something because when they start to make the matzah tash, then you can talk about matzah, you can talk about chametz. The
exactly.
Unleavened bread is opposed to the leavened bread. And
it takes a lot of pressure off of mom and dad because dad doesn't have to worry about how in the world he's going to afford all of this new stuff he's having to buy for the home.
That's right.
And mom doesn't have to figure out how in the world she's going to put all this stuff together.
Plus, everybody grows in understanding because everybody... See, Passover is really, that's the chief of the family festivals. Because it's designed towards the children of the family. The whole thing's designed of the parents communicating with their children and the children being involved.
That's right. So that's one thing we can do as far as showing how to make a matzah tash. There is one other thing we have in the Seder, and that's called an afikomen, in this case afikomen bag. The part of the Seder that is referred to as the afikomen is where we take a piece of matzah that has been hidden. And some child is going to search all over the house for the afikomen or this hidden piece of matzah, in which case he can hold the rest of the Seder ransom by not allowing anyone to go forward until he gets some type of reward or payment for it.
The word afikomen means that which comes after. It's the last thing that you do in the as far as eating in your Passover meal. You still have several hours more that you're going to sing and recite and do. A couple more glasses of wine, but this is the last thing that you can eat that night, because this piece of matzah that was hidden is going to stand for the lamb that used to be slain in the temple.
Now, matzah bags will come in various sizes and shapes. Some of them will have zippers on them. This one just has a little folded over side, but again, it's just a little bag that has an opening. And then this one has actually got sort of a silk fabric on the top that is painted. I've seen them with zippers. I've seen some with drawstrings. I've seen some people who have painted or embroidered using some of the themes of Passover. For example, there are 4 sons that are referred to in the Haggadah. And I saw somebody talk about how they had made a matzah, an afikomen bag depicting the 4 different sons that are referred to in the Passover Seder. So again, your imagination can run wild. But here's something you can do. If we take, again, another ordinary men's handkerchief, what I'm going to do is fold over approximately, what do you say, about 2.5 inches?
Yeah, about 2.5 inches there.
That's right. We're going to make an envelope. Take the remaining part of it and fold in half. Okay? Now, you could actually cut this down a little bit if you feel like you've got too much excess on one side, but again, it's stitched, so it's no problem. Then unfold it, and where you can see your 3 folds. And then what I would do is turn it over, keeping 1 fold in, and you can color or draw or decorate what would be the middle section.
So again, you could decorate it like with grapes or draw some matzah.
Exactly. I would spell it afikomen on it so that you would know what it is.
This is afikomen. You can spell it in English, A-F-I-K-O-M-E-N.
That's right. But the thing is, you want to have that middle section to be the one that's decorated. Okay, then after it's painted or colored or whatever, turn it back over. And what we can do is, Myron, if we can get some of the glue, unfold it at that point. And then take the liquid stitch and just go around 2 sides from let's say the bottom corner up to the first fold.
Just a thin bead.
You don't need to
put too much.
No, you don't need to put too much. And also, you're going to fold this up, so you don't want to do. You definitely don't want to do the bottom edge.
Now you went to the second fold on that side. Did you mean to?
I think that is actually my first fold because I had a wrinkled handkerchief. Okay.
Okay.
So.
All right. So at any rate, you're even on both sides.
That's right. Now, that fold is going to become our bottom edge. So, like I said, you don't go over the bottom side, but you fold this up. Oh, that works out well. And press the 2 sides together. And like I said, the fold actually becomes the closed side. And, of course, you want to leave the top of it to be open. And, of course, it probably needs some drying time. But look. It actually sticks together.
You've got an afikomen bag,
That's right.
Minus the decorating.
Now, most women are going to want to stitch that.
Sure.
They'll want to sew that together. Because this is something that children can do. And, I really should have made y'all do this. You know that. I really should have made the 2 of y'all do this. But then here's the really neat part. They sell sticky back Velcro. And I like these little round pieces. This is very, very sticky. But what I'm going to do is take one and put right in the middle, so that we've got a tab there, and then we take the matching side.
So you're going to be able to shut it.
We're going to shut this bag. Right, what I'm going to do is attach the Velcro. I think that's the easier thing to do.
You see,
attach the Velcro and then stick it over and fold. And now you've actually got a bag that's closed on 2 sides, plus the fold on the bottom. So it's actually a 3-sided bag. And you open it up by simply pulling the Velcro apart. And you've got a place, and where's some of that matzah you had? We could slip it on the inside.
Okay.
Or you had some that was already broken.
What you do, early in the Seder has 15 parts. The Seder means order. And it's the order of the Passover
meal. And the father will take the middle matzah, right, and break it at
You
some
have
point.
to take all 3 of your pieces out. And, okay, they're going to be held a special way and everything. And you say a blessing over the 3 matzot, like this. And then you take the middle piece of matzah, and at a place that's called yachatz.
The breaking.
The breaking, that's what it means. You break half of it, and you put your 3 matzot are going to be placed back. Actually, you didn't take all 3 out at the first. You just took the middle piece out and broke it, and you place half of it back inside the matzah tash.
And then this is going to be placed into our little make-do afikoman bag.
And all your children are going to cover their eyes as you do this.
You know, that is done in some homes. I know in our family, a lot of times we make them leave the room. We make them cover. We don't trust them to cover their eyes because our kids are sharp enough they're going to look. Okay, we have made them leave the room. But what a lot of people do is at some pre-designated time, the father will slip it to the mother. And the mother will take it to some point in the house, and it is basically hidden. It is placed underneath. And of course, in our family, when we get to that point, of course, our big dread and fear is that Jacob, one of the boys who was not with us today, we're scared to death that he's going to find it.
He can find anything.
He can find anything, and he knows how to use it.
Okay.
He knows how to get his worth out of it.
What the kids do is that they're not supposed to be looking when you hide this piece of matzah. Later on in the meal, this matzah has been buried. It's the afikoman. It's been buried somewhere. You could have put it underneath your tablecloth, or you could put it under your cushion of your chair, or just anywhere. And they come back in, and they search everywhere for it. The one that finds it, he comes and he is going to bargain with the father as to what can I get for this piece of matzah. Now, the father cannot finish the Passover Seder until he has that piece of matzah, and he has to eat that piece of matzah by midnight. And so the child comes in and says, okay, what will you give me? And so the father says, all right, how about $10? He says, no way. And so he might bargain, I want a stereo. And the father says, no way am I going to give you a stereo. But anyway, they go back and forth, until finally they reach an agreement. And the father, once they've reached an agreement, gives the son or the child a down payment, and the child gives him the piece of matzah, and they continue on.
All right. Well, continuing on, as we shall do, one of the things we need to discuss is some of those easy-to-prepare foods you can eat during Passover, the week of Chag HaMatzah, when you have a few menu challenges. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of help. One of the things we do in our family occasionally is we make a very, very easy snack called matzah pizza. So, Rebecca, if you would turn around and get the cookie sheet. And Joe, why don't you, if you would, hand some matzahs to me, and I'm going to hand these to you and ask you to open these 2 cans. Okay, lay it here.
Here's some matzah.
Okay, and we're going to put just 2 on here for right now. So, Rebecca, can you put that up, and we'll let Dad open a couple of cans. Now, again, we're just taking some regular, ordinary matzah, placing it on a cookie sheet, and then we're going to mix up a few items to make a sauce, like a regular pizza sauce, one of which will be some tomato sauce, which Joe hasn't gotten to yet. There he comes. And Rebecca, you want to go ahead and hand this a little bit closer? Okay, here we go. Rebecca, if you can hand that to me. What we're going to do is mix up just some ordinary tomato sauce. You might want to check the ingredients and make sure that it's okay to use during the time of Passover. Hey, Myron, if I can get you to dispose of that. We're going to add some Italian-type seasonings to this. What we'll do is I'm going to take a little bit of basil and just sprinkle the top until it's almost covered, but not quite. That would be, maybe 1/4 to 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then we're going to add a little bit of oregano. And let me just kind of shake out a little bit. Maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoonful. You really don't need that much for this small amount of tomato sauce. But again, what you're doing is just giving something a little bit of an Italian flavor. You can be a little more precise with measurement if you want to, but it really is just a matter of taste. Every family is going to be different. Now what we do is just take a small amount, spoon a little bit on each matzah. And of course, what we would do at home is we would probably do several of these, but just like you would make a regular pizza. And Rebecca, can I get you to finish spreading this out? Spread it out rather evenly, if you can do that. And then we'll talk about some of the other things you can put on. You can put fresh vegetables such as sliced peppers, onions, green olives or black olives. Now this is actually chopped ripe olives, whereas I probably would have gotten
sliced.
I would have gotten sliced. It would be a lot easier to handle. To be perfectly honest, though, Joe and I are the only ones who really like to eat black olives. So for the kid, Rebecca's making a face. So we would probably tend to just do cheese pieces for them. And Myron, if you could hand me that fork right behind you. Take this and just put.
Now remember that if you keep kosher, you don't want to mix any meat with this. If you have cheese,
spread it.
Hamburger pizza is just not going to make it.
Okay, now once we get the vegetables that we want spread around a little bit, take just a little bit of grated cheese and sprinkle all over the top. And by the way, cheese is something that, as long as you've got a good cheese, is something that is prepared with. Cheese is something that really works well with matzah. So we just kind of sprinkle that all around. You really couldn't ask for anything easier than something like this for a nice little lunch or snack. And then we're going to put this in an oven that's set at about 350. Could be 375 in some areas, but you want to watch it closely. So Joe, if you can get the door for me here, let's just set this in. And basically, you're just going to leave it in there until the cheese is melted. Because remember, the matzah is cooked, the tomato sauce is cooked, everything is done. So basically, you're just going to let it stay in there until the cheese is melted.
If you like this recipe, you can go to our website, and we will be glad to have it posted there. And this is more of the things we do in our family. Shalom.